Welcome back, everyone. Tonight we are introducing our theme for this semester. This fall we will be talking about the greatest influencer of all time. It's a little goofy, and I'm sure you already know where it's going to go from here, but let's start just by having you guys take a second, think, ask yourself, if you were to fast forward time 20 years, 50 years, 100 years from now, who that is alive today do you think would still be remembered and emulated and still be important to people in the future then? Would they be musicians? Would they be world leaders? Would they be artists? Would they be streamers, influencers, whatever that means? Take a second, think about that. I think a really good possibility, honestly, is Taylor Swift. Love her music or hate her music, she has written so many songs, made so many albums that have stood the test of time, and I feel like she is probably one of the people that will still be remembered in 100 years. So using her as an example, Taylor Swift is what we would call an influencer today. I know that if you think about internet influencers, Instagram influencers, it's kind of a broad category, and it usually refers to people who their whole job is just to be an influencer, to be paid to wear certain sunglasses, to be paid to take certain vitamins, eat certain things, wear certain things. But really what an influencer is any person who other people look up to and want to emulate in some way. Other people who are famous and who have fans that follow after them. So if we want to think really big picture, and not even necessarily in a Catholic Christian sense, but just in anyone, if you ask them who historically is the greatest influencer of all time, who had the most impact on the world and how it developed and where it is now, who made a lot of us who we are today, the obvious answer is Jesus Christ. Like it or not, whether you believe that he really died and was resurrected, whether you believe in the Catholic Christian faith or not, the reality is that 2,000 years ago, a man was born. He was a teacher, he was a preacher, and he was put to death, and then the world was never the same since then. The rest of Jesus' story, people can have issues with, people can be atheistic about. You don't have to believe necessarily that he resurrected, even though a lot of people do. But even for non-Christians, you can't really argue with the fact that Jesus existed and that he changed the world through his life and really affected where we are now. Christianity, the religion based on Jesus' life, teachings, death, and resurrection, is the world's largest religion and has been for a long time. Right now there are around 2.5 billion Christians in the world. The Catholic Church is the world's longest continually run institution ever. For 2,000 years, not quite the full 2,000, because you could argue that the church really started around 30, 40, 50 AD, depending on when Jesus actually died, when a formal church was constructed. But this institution that was based on Jesus has lasted from then until now, and certainly doesn't seem to have any new upcoming time of stopping with its billion members. Additionally, the Catholic Church is the largest charitable organization in the world, and also has been for a long time. Based on Jesus' teaching, based on who we believe that we are and what our call is through Christ, we have given and given and given to the world. Just imagine for a minute that you are a person in Jesus' time. There's this random man who starts with no followers, no believers, he's by himself, he's preaching, and somehow, over the next 2,000 years, with the vast majority of his followers having never met him personally, in person at least, somehow his influence has extended to the point that almost 30% of the entire world is Christian, following him in his teachings. The fact that a man who lived 2,000 years ago is still so remembered, loved, and appreciated, and so talked about in the modern world is amazing. Going even further, though, the Catholic faith is something that is deeply personal as well. It is this huge institution that has lasted for so long and for over so many thousands of years, with so many different people going through it. But also it is a deeply personal faith, because what we believe as Catholics is that Jesus is not a person who died and stayed dead. We believe that he resurrected and he is in heaven, and we can still have this personal relationship with him now. Indeed, that we are called to have this personal relationship with him through prayer, through our service, through our actions. So this semester we are going to be exploring who was this greatest influencer of all time. Who was Jesus when he was here on earth? Who is Jesus now that he is still alive, risen in heaven? Why does it matter? Why do we think he matters? What do Catholics believe about him? What does it mean that we are called to have a relationship with him? And what does it mean for us to follow him? How do we follow him? How should our actions be shaped so that we are living like Christ? That's a lot to break open, I know, and we will take our time as we go throughout this semester delving into each of these different parts. But for now, just think about how Jesus' influence has already affected you in your life. What are aspects of your life, of your family, of your friendships that are already affected and influenced by Christ's presence in your life?